Hi, I'm here to share our vision for what energy will look like in 2020. My name is Kelsey Nunez. I am a member of the Idaho Energy Collaborative. The Idaho Energy Collaborative was formed not too long ago when representatives from over 30 businesses and nonprofit organizations joined together because we were sharing a common vision for our energy future. We're an action-oriented group, and we work at the state and local level to advocate for change in energy policy. So our presentation, we start with talking about where we are today in 2010 and where we'd like to be in 2020 and what we need to do to get there. So today, when we look at our everyday lives, we think about where do we get our electricity, our non-transportation related energy, or how do we power our homes and our businesses. So if you look at the numbers, you'll see that most of our energy comes from coal and traditional large-scale hydro dams, and less than 3% there comes from wind and other sources of renewable energy. Do you ever wonder why our energy mix looks like that? It doesn't just happen. A lot of it has to do with the way our federal subsidies are designed. So subsidies in the form of research dollars, direct incentives for tax credits, and regulatory exemptions and other types of market interventions. So looking at that same house measured for the federal incentives, you'll see that the subsidy network really does dictate how our energy mix looks. So data from an Environmental Law Institute study shows that over the last 60 years, billions of dollars were funneled into oil, coal, and nuclear research, and relatively little was put into all other sorts of energy research. So in 2010, almost half of Idaho's energy comes from coal. Here's some images of what that looks like. Here's the Boardman plant in Oregon, where most of our coal comes from, if you're in the Idaho power sector. And here's some pictures of what it looks like to harvest that coal and what it looks like when we burn it to create electricity. So clearly we need to expand our options for clean and renewable sources of energy. Idaho has abundant resources of solar and geothermal, biomass in the forests and the farms, and also microhydro in our vast network of streams and rivers. But right now, all of that makes up a very small percentage of where we get our electricity. So that's where we are today. We do have a vision for where we'd like to be in 2020. So what happens? How do we get there? Well, we'd like to be able to say that Idaho decided in 2010 to lead the nation into the future and set a goal for 60% clean renewable energy by 2020 and really shoot for the stars and get 100% clean renewable energy by 2030. So how is that going to happen? Well, first, we're going to prioritize cleaner energy, and this is a mix that we think is achievable and we'd like to see. Scale out some of the older dirty technologies and really scale up the cleaner sources that come from our natural environments. Microhydro. Microhydro is a really great opportunity. We can scale out some of our large-scale dams and instead focus on the streams, the rivers, and our irrigation canals, work with our agricultural irrigators to generate energy while at the same time you're irrigating our crops. And we may not be the warmest state in the nation, but we are one of the sunniest. We have 300 days of sun each year, so Idaho has taken the lead in installing solar rooftops across the state and also installing neighborhood and utility scale solar plants all around the state. And with our manufacturing and technology sector, we've become a leader in green jobs in this solar industry. We're also one of the windiest states. The studies show that we're about 13th in the rankings of wind in the nation, and we've continued to maximize our ability to harness that energy all across the country and the state. And also Idaho, we have a lot of geothermal energy coming out from the earth, and we've become one of the largest innovators in this geothermal technology and the research that it takes to actually get that hot water out of the ground and power our homes and businesses with it. And the supply side of energy generation is only one side of the energy equation. The demand side management is a huge issue and actually might be more important than energy generation for the future. So energy efficiency and conservation was, of course, a huge priority in the 10 years between 2010 and 2020. So our Secretary of Energy during the Obama administration in 2009, he acknowledged this and said we should put the pedal to the metal for energy efficiency, and that's exactly what we did. And another study, in 2009, the Northwest Power Planning Council, they calculated that our energy demand from 2010 through 2020 was going to continue to grow. but we could harvest 85% of that energy by simply conserving and being more efficient. And so by doing that, we save the money that we would have spent. And while you can't estimate exact numbers because of the fluctuations in the energy market, we could easily say billions of dollars can be saved over 10 years through these measures. So how do we do that? Well, a lot of this is behavioral. So there were several big ideas that came out in our home and business that changed our culture. For example, our day-to-day habits of flipping on the light switch, flipping on the water. We don't really know exactly how much money or energy that's costing us now, but building codes across the state began to put these real-time actions in place, so when you flip on a light, you know exactly how much it's costing you and how much you're using, and you can make the choice whether you turn that on or not, or you go somewhere else or do something different. And most homes now are green built, and that can mean a lot of things: indoor air quality, energy efficiency, water conservation. And here, when you're talking energy, the hub of most homes is the kitchen. So these machines that are generally known as energy dashboards have been installed in all homes, which gives you that real-time data so you can monitor your behavior and make decisions. Another important concept with energy management is distributed energy, and moving away from the central power stations that then are spread all across the country to having energy generation where it's used. So right now, the energy market, you've got the wholesale market and you've got the utility company. Utility company buys from the wholesale market, distributes it into the grid, and the homes demand it, and it goes to them. Well, by 2020, all these homes are built to the highest level of green building standards, and most of them have installed some sort of renewable energy generation to produce their own power, which they're then able to sell back to the grid. And by selling that back to the grid, the utility company is able to buy less from the general centralized market. And this distributed technology is a part of what's been known as the smart grid, where we have integrated microgrids throughout the state, producing and distributing power where it's needed. And of course, our schools and our children played a big role in the time period between 2010 and 2020. By 2020, they estimate that there will be 1,200 public schools and 400,000 students, 35,000 teachers. It's a lot of people and it's a lot of knowledge. And all of these schools are built green, and by having this energy education starting at a young age and throughout the child's life, they're able to inspire the rest of us. They're able to keep up on the technology, invent new technology, and as the schools become green, the communities become green, and the rest of us are able to monitor our energy usage and get to our goal for 2020. So in those 10 years, we've accomplished a lot, and if we keep those practices going, it'll keep getting better. So I wonder if by 2030, could we get to this energy mix where there is no dirty, polluting technology anymore? But it will depend. It'll depend on a lot of things. It's going to take a lot of courage from us as individuals and from our political leaders. So we need to give our politicians that courage by letting them know that we'll reward them when they work to make this change. And when we have inspired political leaders, we can have cultural change, and we could achieve our vision.